appear more profitable to the lender and less profitable to the officials who set the building's property tax. For instance, Trump told the lender that he took in twice as much rent from one building as he reported to tax authorities during the same year, 2017. He also gave conflicting occupancy figures for one of his signature skyscrapers located at 40 Wall Street. Lenders like to see a rising occupancy level as a sign of what they call leasing momentum. Sure enough, the company told the lender that 40 Wall Street had been 58.9% leased on December 31st, 2012, and then rose to 95% a few years later. The company told tax officials the building was 81% rented as of January 5th, 2013. A dozen real estate professionals told ProPublica they saw no clear explanation for multiple inconsistencies in the documents. The discrepancies are versions of fraud, according to Nancy Wallace, a professor of finance and real estate at the Haas School of Business at the University of California, Berkeley. Quote, "This kind of stuff is not okay." End of quote.
It's not okay, it's for sure.
Yeah.
Darren,
have you got that up?
Yeah, I do. And, I think what you're reading there is another log on the fire for impeachment, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely it is.
But, we got to light it. We got to light it and get it going. And the best way, there's two schools of thought. This kind of dire situation in this country has two groups of people. One say, hey, anybody, I don't care who, beat Trump. Anybody. Put a D by their name, get them going. Anybody, that's our focus, is to beat Trump. Yep. Another person says, the fight is formidable. You thought you had him once before with your corporate candidate. Mm-hmm. We need to get somebody that's going to be absolutely the best bet to beat Trump. Mm-hmm. But in the people's fanaticism, they are willing to go for anybody, including, and I'm going to read here now from the article called Prospect.org by Alexander Salmon, October 17, 2019. Once the Rhodes Scholar version of Mr. Rogers, Buttigieg has become the snarling incarnation of anti-left rage. When Mayor Pete first threw his hat in the presidential ring, his foremost credential, besides being cute, beyond his time helming the government of a college town, was his charm. Here was Pete upgrading the city's computer system. Here was Pete shoveling snow. Here was Pete fixing a pothole. Extremely competent, agreeable, Pete was a nice guy. Democrat in a red, deindustrialized state who had notched success without ever dirtying his nose in the upcoming arena of partisan politics. He condemned incivility and disunity. Despite being barely old enough to qualify to run, he was lovingly referred to literally as the Mr. Rogers of the Democratic Party. He was actually cuter than Mr. Rogers. He may have been light on experience, but he had presidential disposition in spades. But now, as the campaign season has unfolded, charming Pete has all but disappeared, replaced by the real Pete, combative, defiant, corporate Pete, whose new modus operandi is scoring points by doing what? Attacking the Democratic Party's progressive front runners. From the right, and everything from gun control to campaign finance to health care. His demeanor was on display this last debate, Tuesday night, as he went toe-to-toe with Beto O'Rourke over gun control and denigrated the Sanders and Warren vision for Medicare for all. The first sign of his metamorphosis came in late June when Black Lives Matter protesters confronted Pete over the police shooting of a black man in South Bend and his administration's checkered legacy on policing. After what the protesters seemed inadequate responses on the issue, one asked, "You're running for president and you expect black people to vote for you?" To which Pete snapped, "I'm not asking for your vote." He recently trained a similarly snide comment on the Sanders-Warren-Ocasio-Cortez fundraising strategy for refusing high-dollar donations from corporate PACs, lobbyists, and private equity groups. When asked about their approach in an interview with Snapchat Peter Hamby, Peter responded, "My competitors can go with whatever strategy they like. We're not going to beat Trump with pocket change." Now, evidently, Darren, when he says pocket change, he's talking about the fact he has more Wall Street billionaire donations than any other candidate. This is what makes my blood boil. This is the grooming and this is the funding of the next corporate little sweetheart that's going to be thrown at you in November.
By pocket change, does he mean the $25 million that Bernie raised in the third quarter? $25 million, more than any other candidate.
But that money came from people's bottom of their pockets. The billions that Pete's got, is from an unlimited, infinite source of corporate money. Not that I don't think Bernie's effort has enough. I think he's got money. I think he's going to be formidable. I really do. But we're fighting against the same damn establishment that lost us the last election and put us in this bind with Trump.
Yep.
Same exact playbook.
Yep. Unbelievable.
Did you happen to hear any, real quickly, did you hear some of the summary of the debate and see the cute little Pete there going toe-to-toe, arguing?
I didn't watch any of the debate.
Literally attacking the
I can't do it anymore.
Behind Medicare for All, trying to categorize these progressives. I'm going to say there's only one progressive, and that's Bernie.
Exactly.
As insane as unicorn requests, unpayable. There's no way we can pay for these pipe dreams. You couldn't get a better response from Lindsey Graham. And the Democratic Party put this debate on where Bernie and the top three had just a few minutes more than the other 15 people. I don't know how many people were they. That's an exaggeration.
Yeah, I think there were at least a dozen on stage.
Which is part of their tactic as well.
Yeah.
And everybody
dilute the waters.
Throws their hat in there, and pretty soon the whole ring is filled with hats. You can't take a legitimate stand.
That's true.
They are controlling the dialogue. They're controlling the media output. We know the last time on this show we exposed that the DNC gave direct and literal transcripts for the media to present in the primary.
Donna Brazile admitted to it.
We're looking at the same scenario.
Yep.
And we're going to beat Trump.
Yep. I did hear that the insurance companies were running anti-Medicare for All ads during the debate. Again. This is their strategy, folks. You better wake up. The coffee's on. You better take a whiff. The brew is on. You need to smell it.
Do you know who your enemy is out there? Do you know who you're really fighting? How many candidates have admitted our enemy is the corporate world?
Bernie, that's it.
That's it, unilaterally.
Yeah. Well, I want to move on to this real quick because I promised our listeners that we would talk about the passing of Congressman Elijah Cummings, which was really unexpected. He apparently passed away very early on Thursday, October 17th at 2:45 a.m. at Gilchrist Hospice Care, which is an affiliate of Johns Hopkins. Apparently, he had what's being called complications concerning long-standing health challenges. Now, I know he's had a couple of surgeries over the years, and he's had issues with infections after his surgeries, so I don't know if that has anything to do with it. I'm reading this. This is from CBS News. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi ordered the flags at the Capitol be flown at half-staff in his memory. The White House, too, lowered its flag. In her weekly press conference on Thursday, Pelosi said that she was devastated by the loss of Cummings, who she referred to as the North Star of the House. She said she may rename a bill to lower prescription drug costs in his honor. House Minority Leader Chuck Schumer said on MSNBC Thursday morning, quote, "He was not just a great congressman, he was a great man," end of quote. Baltimore Mayor Bernard C. Young said in a statement that, quote, "People throughout the world have lost a powerful voice and one of the strongest and most gifted crusaders for social justice," end of quote. Republican Governor Larry Hogan of Maryland said in a statement, quote, "Congressman Cummings leaves behind an incredible legacy of fighting for Baltimore City and working to improve people's lives. He was a passionate and dedicated public servant whose countless contributions made our state and our country better," end of quote. I'm going to skip what Trump said because he's lying. I'm just going to say it. I'm just going to call it what it is, because Trump was the one that said, "Oh, well, look at the neighborhood that he lives in. He got his house broken into. That's too bad."
Did you see the evangelist that said God took out Cummings?
No, I didn't say that.
He'd been going against Trump too much, so he just took him out.
Wow. Let me go down a little bit further into the story. Cummings missed 2 roll call votes Thursday, the first day back following a 2-week House recess. He hadn't returned to work after having a medical procedure that he said would only keep him away for about a week. That according to the Baltimore Sun. Previously released a statement saying he'd be back by the time the session resumed. He had not taken part in a roll call vote since September 11th. The statement didn't detail the procedure, but apparently he was previously treated for heart and knee issues. As I said, he was having problems with infections and fighting the infections. Cummings was born a sharecropper's son. He was a formidable orator who passionately advocated for the poor in his black majority district, which encompasses a large portion of Baltimore as well as more well-to-do suburbs. As chairman of the House Oversight and Reform Committee, Cummings led multiple investigations of Trump's dealings, including probes in 2019 relating to Trump's family members serving in the White House. The president responded by criticizing Cummings' district as a rodent-infested mess where no human being would want to live. The comments came weeks after Trump drew bipartisan condemnation following his calls for Democratic Congresswomen of color to get out of the U.S. right now and go back to their broken and crime-infested countries. So, yeah, Cummings fought against Trump and died fighting Trump.
Yeah, you look at the legacy of this man. I remember pictures of the bridge. What was it called? The Pettus Bridge or something down there in
Alabama.
Yep. And I think he got a broken jaw or was attacked. It was hit there. And it reminds me of the pictures of Bernie when he was just a kid being arrested at a protest march. Simultaneous in those years, you had Hillary working for Walmart, and you had Warren, who was a full-fledged Republican up until she was in her middle age, 50 years of some age. These men go back, and the fact that it's genuine can be figured out. You can just look at their roots, and these were the real deals.
Exactly.
And these are the kind of guys that we have way too few of.
Yes. We're starting to run short on time, so I want to real quickly mention some stories that we have on our Facebook page that we're not going to get to this week. So please go to facebook.com/Southpaws Radio Show for these stories. This from CBS News. Chicago teachers go on strike after failing to reach a contract deal, which we're supportive of that. Solidarity forever. I have a story from CBS this morning. California governor signs 3 laws aimed at preventing bullying and suicides. That's a big deal to me. I've talked about my mental health struggles on this show in the past. Something that should really irritate people. I've got a story from Lauren Feiner at CNBC. The Federal Communications Commission has voted to approve the merger between T-Mobile and Sprint. So just make sure you check that out, folks, because that's going to affect you big time, and you don't even know it. Mm-hmm. And then I've got a story that I'm going to post that we haven't posted yet. It's one that you brought to me this morning from Reuters by Matt Green. Scientists endorse mass civil disobedience to force climate action.
Wow, what a stance. That's great.
That is a stance. It's unbelievable, and unbelievable in a good way. Well, that's going to do it up for this show. We'll be back next week. I'm Darren Gibson.
I'm Jack Prince.
For our announcer, Kristen Cook, please support independent media and the First Amendment.
The stations that carry Southpaws do not necessarily share the opinions expressed on the show. Southpaws is protected by the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution and is copyrighted by Big D Entertainment. All rights reserved.